So the justice that I chose was RBG in the case of Weisenfeld versus Weinberger, where Weisenfeld sued because he was denied the Social Security benefits that he was due to his wife passing away. He was denied to those benefits because he was a man. Now, some background about RBG before we get into the case. RBG was a first-generation immigrant on her father's side and second-generation immigrant from her mother's side, hailing from Brooklyn. She was Jewish, and she had a very humble upbringing. They didn't have a lot of money, but one thing that they did have was that their mother, by they I mean her siblings and herself, their mother really pushed them to be disciplined in their studies, and Ruth really took that and she ran with it. She was admitted to Harvard and also Columbia. She got her undergrad in Cornell, and she explained in some of her videos that when she went to school, a lot of women at that time went to school to find husbands, not necessarily to excel in their career. However, RBG, she did find her husband at Cornell, but she also, furthered her career, and she became the first woman on Harvard Law Review as well as Columbia Law Review, won awards within those schools, and really made herself, claimed her territory in those schools where a lot of men were doing that and a lot of women weren't. She was the top of her class at Columbia and Harvard and Cornell. And she really excelled in that area. But although she excelled in that area, it didn't defend her from gender-based discrimination. And so she was, met with a lot of backlash for the things that she wanted to accomplish in life. And that really fueled her to work towards gender-based discrimination cases. She worked, before she was appointed as Supreme Court Justice, she was offered many opportunities at law firms that would just underpay her. And so she really wanted to focus on that, and not just focus on how it affected women, but also how it affected men. And so that's part of the Weinberg versus Weisenfeld case, was that gender-based discrimination was affecting men as well. And that was a big argument for her to the Supreme Court justices at the time, who were men, because she needed to get them to who were all men, because she needed to get them to understand that gender-based discrimination is a people problem, not just a women's problem. And so that worked to her benefit when she was arguing this case. And in this case, only women, who were widows and children, were allowed to collect the Social Security benefits that their spouse paid into when they were alive, but not men who lost their spouse. And in Weisenfeld's case, his wife, who passed while giving birth, she was a teacher and she was the sole provider of their household. So when she passed away, there was no support. There was no immediate, support, and he had to take care of his other child. But he didn't have the money to do that, and he was denied the money that he was owed to do that. And so that was wrong. And RBG argued that, and so the outcome was that the Supreme Court justices, they argued, they unanimously came to the conclusion that this was wrong and this was discriminatory, and that the Social Security benefits are to support the family. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. It's supposed to support the family. And without that, he wouldn't have been able to support his family. And so that was wrong. In this case, really set a precedent for other gender-based discrimination cases that came later, because it really showed that gender-based discrimination affects everybody, not just women. And that was like RBG's whole thing. As far as my opinion, I definitely think this was the right thing to do. I'm glad they voted unanimously, because at the end of the day, Weisenfeld needed to take care of himself and his child, and there was money that was owed to him that was denied to him, and that's not right. And also, by saying that a woman's dollar is not valid enough to be collected is discriminatory towards his wife, because it says the work that she did and the money that she paid into Social Security is not the same as if a man were to do that same work and pay into Social Security, and that's not right. So I'm glad the justices came to that conclusion. And yeah.